Today, we are talking about scaling your business as an entrepreneur and visionary leader in 2020 and beyond. Welcome to Double Your Sales Now, where you learn all the tips, mindset shifts, tools, and strategies to 2 times your sales in any niche. I'm your host, Ursula Mentjes. So today, I have Rebekah Hall, and she is a veteran business coach who has over 10 years plus experience, has worked with over 2,500 companies. She's the former director of organizational development and leadership coaching for a $100 million tech company in Arizona. And her specialty areas include operations, systems, sales, marketing strategies, product development, leadership, revenue modeling, and my favorite, management of a private aircraft, which she's going to do for me someday. That's my intention out there. Rebekah and I have known each other for years. We are the yin and yang when it comes to coaching. As Rebekah always says, I'm the nice one.
I'm the nice one.
Oh, right. Okay. And we have so much fun at sales camp, training and coaching our clients. And then we get to coach our clients together in our breakthrough and immersion programs, which is a lot of fun. So today you're going to get a little sense of what it's like to spend a little bit of time with us, and especially around this idea of scaling. Because so many of you have come to us and said, I want to take my business to the next level. I have a 6-figure business. I want it to be 7 figures. I have 7 figures. What's next after that? And we want to start that conversation here. And I encourage you to continue this conversation with us. So if after this, you listen to the podcast and you have questions, email us at contact@salescoachnow. Or if you want to find out about working with us privately, again, email contact@salescoachnow and we'll get you more information on that. So Rebekah, let's just dive in. It's a little bit different. Usually we're talking about, just sales. But of course, when you get enough sales, you have to go to the next level. So when you think about scaling, and when we have this conversation in our Sales Coach Now community, what does scaling mean to you, or how would you describe it?
Right. Scaling is actually a really important part of business. It's the act of growing the company beyond you just being a solopreneur or a one-man, one-woman show. So it's about getting that business bigger. And then if you want something bigger, right, you have to have a bigger foundation or a more solid foundation to allow that to grow, right? Just like a tree. If a tree doesn't have a good root system, it's not going to be able to grow tall and branch out.
Yeah, for sure. So we've worked with clients who are startups who've grown to 7 figures, right? We've worked with companies that are, multi 6-figure, want to get to 7-figure, worked at many different levels. When you think about all of our clients and all the clients that you've worked with in the trajectory of your career, why do you think it's easier for some people to scale, and why do other entrepreneurs get stuck? Why does that make you laugh?
I think sometimes, here's what I do know, and this might offend some people. Intelligence has nothing to do with it. Sometimes, yeah.
That's actually a relief, right?
Hey, you know what? Me too, because I thought if I just learned enough, I could, be super successful. But sometimes people that scale really quickly, or I don't want to say easy, because there's definitely nothing easy about business. There's definitely simplicity, but sometimes how you approach it is really different. So our clients that scale really quick, or people I see that scale really quick or successfully, they really do have a win at all costs type of attitude. They don't let their personal fears, doubts, limiting beliefs hold them back. And a lot of times they don't have to have everything set in stone, or all the planets don't have to align. They're just willing to move forward, knowing that if they move forward, they'll figure it out. They're also very coachable. They ask questions. They're humble, transparent. So it definitely is a certain type of person that's just willing to go for the gold versus someone who has a lot of doubt, a lot of fear. And I know some of the questions you're going to ask, we can dip into that a little bit, but usually we're the ones that hold ourselves back from growing or not.
Yeah. So you're talking about confidence and courage. And one of our clients once said, I'm not always confident, but I am always courageous. And I just thought we've shared that at sales council with other clients because it's such a brilliant statement. Can you unpack that a little bit? What do you think that meant? You think about that specific client or other clients. What does that really mean when it comes to growing the business?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Anytime in life we try to do something, right, that we've never done before, of course, there's no confidence.
Mhm.
right? You're
Right.
only confident when you hit the ball 100 times in a row. Like, what's the chance you're going to hit it on the 101st? Pretty good. I'm pretty confident. If I've given this speech before, I'm confident. If I've sold 10 of these before, I'm confident. But courageousness is willing to go and do something that you haven't done before, but you're still willing to do it. There's a meme going around Facebook right now that says, have the courage to suck at something new.
I love it.
And it's like, that's so true, right? Because if you've
Yeah.
never done it before, of course it's going to be uncomfortable. Of course you're not going to be confident, or even there's no crystal ball. You don't know how it's going to turn out. So just having the courage to try and move forward is, I think, like one of the things that I just see across the board with people that are successful, is they're
Yeah.
just willing to try.
Right. Willing to take a step. And
Mm-hmm.
so for our listeners who are all over the world, like there's something right in front of you right now that you probably don't want to do, but you know it's the exact thing that you have to do, right? The quote,
Right.
Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "You must do the thing you think you cannot do." I mean, there's stuff in my business I don't want to do it. Like there's certain things that I know that I have to do, I don't want to do. I might not necessarily even
Right.
feel confident about doing them, but I know that if I don't, the business can't continue to grow. And
Well, even if you don't want to do it, who can? I mean,
that's
that is
true.
part of scaling, is team, contractors. Like, there's definitely things in my business I don't want to do, but they're critical to growing a business. So I'm more than willing to hire the
Mm-hmm.
brain. Right now, I'll know enough about it. Like, I have to lead it, but someone else can do it. I'm totally fine with that. So what I do see is sometimes the value that we give ourselves in our business is what we do. Right. So you don't understand, Rebekah. My clients want me. That's why they come here. And the truth is, that's not true. I mean, there is a level of relatedness and your bedside manner, whatever you want to call it. But the truth is, they're just coming to you to get their problem solved or their need met. So a lot of times I see businesses not scale because if they're not the magic, then they actually don't have value. Like, what would you do if your business was completely systematized and running on its own? Like, you don't see the McDonald's owner like hanging out by the ketchup going like, hi,
Right.
like they've got a system, like they're out living their life and they come in and they have their checks and balances. But that's part of like what that internal confidence or feeling is
Mhm.
are you willing to get really big knowing that you're not the magic?
That's great. So powerful. And to not have to do it all. And when I was talking about things I didn't want to do, like absolutely, like there's things I don't want to do because I'm not good at them and I need to hire, but then there's things I don't want to do because it's uncomfortable, right?
Right,
And
right,
that's
right.
where it's like, all right, but there's certain things that only I can do. Only I can lead my team, lead the company. So I can
Mhm.
hire someone to do part of that, but that, it's being willing to do those things that you put off and you don't want to do. And so for those of
Right.
you who are listening, I really like, if you're driving or on the treadmill, you don't have to do this, but if you are sitting down somewhere, I want you to write down one thing. Like, what's one thing you don't want to do in your business right now because it feels uncomfortable and you don't want to do it, but yet it's holding you back.
I
And I
love
want
it.
you to make
Declare it.
it,
Yeah,
yeah,
declare it.
declare it.
What do you not want to do? You know what I don't like doing in my business?
What's that?
I don't like the planning, like the marketing part. I do not like marketing in business.
Mm-hmm.
Just like trying to be creative, like my personality, I like to just like see a problem, go solve it, see a problem, go solve it. So to create like this whole huge marketing creativity and be super cutesy or whatever, I don't do it. But I put people around me to help me. I also have terrible grammar. So I don't write my own stuff. Like I have other people write for me and get my message out there. So we all have that thing that we don't like doing, but how critical is marketing in business?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much the engine of business.
Right.
So super important. And I don't like to do it. And I'm totally happy to say that, but I understand how marketing functionally works in the business. So I know there has to be parts of that out there for me if I want to continue to grow.
Yeah. And you've also created your business in a way that doesn't require you to do a lot of like out there marketing. I'm like, a lot of your business is by referral and
Mm-hmm.
you reach your goals through the way you've set it up. So I think and if you wanted to grow it in a different way, you could, because you know how to do it. I think that's important
Yeah.
to like know what your strengths are, hire for the weaknesses, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote. So good.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. So what do you think? I'm curious, like, what are the top 2 myths about scaling a business that you wish people knew, or that, we think about our clients that you wish they knew as
Yeah.
well?
I think the number one that's my favorite is, hey, Rebekah, I don't want to double because I don't want to go from working 70 hours a week
Yes.
to 140.
I don't want to double how much I work. Right.
Yeah. So that's like the funniest thing is that people think if they double in their business or triple, that means like that's the time. And it's like, it's such an employee mentality. And here's the thing, like if you're actually really good at what you do and you're making somewhere between 80 and I'd say, depending on the industry, between 80 and like 150, 200,
Yeah.
you are actually in such a painful point in your business if you're trying to do it all yourself. So that's like the biggest one is growing my business means more work, right? And it kind of does in the sense that you're going to have to focus on things that maybe aren't your strength. You're going to have to dig in and build some systems. You're going to have to like dig in and create a hiring system and hire people and put accountability in. But you know, it's going to be like hard now, easy later, or easy now, hard later. You know, so it's kind of like if you start putting the money in a bank account that has compound interest when you're 10 versus when you're 55, like what's the outcome, right? You're going to put a lot more in at 55. You're going to be a lot more tired and probably not have the best quality of life versus you just put a little bit in at 10 and you just got really consistent. Like you can retire early and have all the money you need and not be burnt out. So it's that same thing in business. I see people try to muscle to get to a point where they think that everything's going to change, right? Like if I just put my head down and work hard enough in my business, I'm going to wake up one day and have $500,000 and then I'll put all the systems in place and then I'll hire all the right people and then we'll be good to go. Unfortunately, like you never wake up and have a big amount of money in your bank account, like unless it was by bank error. But, you know, it's just like losing weight. It's that consistency every day and building on a platform and like really getting all the things moving. And then one day you wake up and you're 20 pounds lighter. But the thing is that happened 1.5 pounds at a time over time. And you probably didn't even notice it until you got to that result, which is that consistency that we talk about.
Right. We forget that the things we do every day are the things that make the biggest difference. And you talked about it, like, you know, when you double your business, you know, people worry about it being more, and it's not. The reason we don't do it too, I think, is because it's different. Like you were saying, we have to do different things to get there. And that often feels like more, it feels harder because we don't know how, but it's like anything else. Once you figure it out, you know it, and you can give it to somebody else or systematize it, of course, so that someone else can do it for you.
Yeah. Sometimes people are okay with the norm and it being comfortable, even though they don't get the results they want, versus like really being willing to like change things up and get a little bit uncomfortable to get what you want.
Right. Yeah. It's good.
So that's the big one. The big one is it's going to take a lot more work. The second thing about scaling is if they realize that part of scaling usually means they're going to have to like hire out parts of their business. Oh, well, everybody's lazy or no one can do it as good as me. There's something about the relation of someone else doing it or representing you or speaking on behalf of you or whatever. That's the other reason that people stay really small, because and I think that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, is they value themselves so much in the business that if they didn't have to do it, what would be their value? So they make hiring or someone else in their business almost the bad guy, right? Like I love talking, you know, usually one of the first hires we make in business is a right hand. Like if you've got a good business and you're going and you're working a lot, you know, a lot of those tasks you're doing are admin-y. I call them like $10 an hour work, $15 an hour work, and you should be doing $100 an hour work plus. And so when we talk about handing that off, you know, some people, they struggle so much, they're going through 3, 4, 5 admins. And they're just like, see, no one can do it as good as me. And it's like, well, you don't have a system. Like you didn't set them up to win. And if you have a listening for it's not going to work, guess what? It's just never going to work. If you have a belief that no one works as hard as you or everybody's lazy, right? I love millennials are lazy. Like they definitely work differently than we do, but they sure work a heck of a lot smarter. And I really appreciate their life balance, work-life balance as a Gen Xer who we just thought we were going to have to like be in the trenches forever, right? Like we worked thinking the longer we were in the game, the more we were worth. And that's just not true. Right? So yeah, it's going to be different. And are you willing to look at different? And are you willing to lead? You know, sometimes we're not confident about, we get that imposter syndrome. right? Like I remember I got my first big contract and, a long time ago, and I made so much money and it was so great, but it was the first time ever. And then I didn't want to be in that contract anymore and do other things. Like I really had an identity crisis. Like, well, this one person paid me that, but will other people?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like a huge, I almost even like sabotaged myself. Like, well, I'll probably make a third of what I made before. Like I just had these crazy stories to like, I don't know, make me feel better or like
Yeah, keep you
justify.
safe. Right.
Yeah.
'Cause if
And the crazy thing is when I actually like went forward, I actually doubled what I made and didn't even work half as hard.
Mhm.
So like, go figure, right? So sometimes it's just being willing to like get out from under yourself of the imposter syndrome and just be willing to like put a team together. Like it's, and like you said, systems, they help fix a lot of that stuff.
Right. So let's really quickly define like your brain works in systems. Like that's why for our listeners, Rebekah and I work so well together because I love the marketing and sales and the beliefs and all the vision and Rebekah loves putting it all together and making sure that it works on the back end.
Yeah.
So and the delivery.
The
But
completely boring part of business, right?
right. For most of us entrepreneurs, it's not our strong suit. So give everyone like tell everyone like what does a good system look like? How would I even develop one? Where would I
Right.
start with that? Somebody might
Right.
be asking
Well,
that.
yeah, one of the reasons that people struggle with systems is because they don't actually understand what a system really is. And a system is a step-by-step process that gets you from A to B or gets something from, not built to built or not complete to complete. And the thing is most of us have bootstrapped our businesses and you get so good up here at like just automation. Like think about driving a car. Like if you drive your kids to school every day or you drive to a movie theater or a restaurant, a lot of times you're not even conscious for half of that drive. Why
Right.
is that? Because your brain has taken over. Like I've done this 100 times. I'm just going to keep doing it. So that's awesome for things like that. It keeps us safe. Otherwise if our brain had to work that hard all the time on every single step, it would probably burn up or something.
Right.
But when it comes to like business and creating systems, you have to actually go down to the steps because if you just kind of if there's 100 steps to do something and you're consciously thinking of 50 and assuming that the other person knows the other 50, you're just not going to have a good training experience. And we all see things differently. So like, even if you take a word like, hey, Rebekah, how do you define love? And, it would be completely different than how you define love or commitment or a system, even the word system, or what does retirement look like to you?
Mm-hmm.
So you're already operating at a deficit when we think everyone thinks like us. And then when you don't break it down enough, the truth is you don't have a good system. And then when you try to hand that off to somebody else, you're not even setting them up to win. It's super
Right.
unfortunate. So I like to pull people up when I'm working with groups and say, okay, I want you to teach me how to walk. What do I do first?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, well, take a step. How do I do that? Like, what is the mechanics of taking a step? And everyone's laughing, but really it's like,
Right. That's right.
pick your right foot up and put your knee at a 90-degree angle, then swing your ankle and start moving forward. And it's like everyone laughs, but the truth is if you had to teach someone how to walk and you can't say, do it like this, right? Like
Right.
watch
You gotta
me do it.
explain
Like people that train people in their company, like just watch me. Like I see that a lot with like cleaning companies, things like that. Like just watch me. Well, that person's already so nervous and doesn't like operate on the same frequency as you. They can't possibly copy you.
Right.
You look at McDonald's and everyone likes to vilify McDonald's. And then on the other side, they like to say they're such a great business. Why? Because everything is so mechanical there. Like everything is like 3 pickles on the Big Mac, not put some pickles on the Big Mac, 3 pickles on the Big Mac.
Right.
And so like when you're willing, and this is where people are like, Rebekah, you're already boring me. This sounds like torture, nails on a chalkboard. I want to get out there and talk about what I do and sell. And people just need to be, my people that work for me just need to be as excited and motivated as I am. And then it works. And the truth is it doesn't. You're a business owner hiring an employee or someone to do a task. And so that's really you got to put the rails around that and set them up to win. Like people that work for you want to win.
Mm-hmm.
And when they have a good system and they understand like how their role works in the company and for the sake of what, then you got really happy employees that feel like they're winning every single day, and they are. Like, you want them to. You don't want it to be like a Rubik's Cube, but it's like, look, if you figure it out, you get to keep working here, and if not, so long. You're not cut out for it.
Right.
So really breaking down the processes and systems in a, like, literally paint by number.
Like, to the ridiculous.
To the, like, 5-year-old.
3 pickles.
Like, yeah.
Like 17 onion pieces.
Yes.
Got it.
And here's the thing is it sounds so painful to do, and it kind of is, especially when you're like, I could just do this faster myself than telling someone else. But if you're willing to, like, do that for all these parts of your business, you never have to do it again. Like, literally. And then that's where we don't get dependent on people in our business. Not that they're not important, but, maybe you've heard of, like, the bus test or something like that. That's where, if you have systems that are that good, you can literally step out of the business and people can come in and do the training, and they're doing it. And then you're not having to stop what you're doing and retrain someone again and again and again and again. And it's 2020 right now. So there's plenty of tools out there and technology to train people remotely, to train them step by step, to, like, video train them, to get feedback on video. So it's just like, it's probably one of the easiest times, I would say, to be an entrepreneur, just based on being able to scale with what we have around us. Mm-hmm. It's a lot different than, 100 years ago.
So is there anything different? Like, I think a lot of times people will say, well, I have to, I'm hiring part-time people. I'm not hiring W-2 employees, so I don't have to do this. Is there anything different between why you would need to create a great system if you're hiring part-time versus full-time, or virtual assistants, as a lot of people call them?
No, because I want you to do the things that I want it, that the way I want them done. So even, like, as a coach, like, I do fulfillment for a few different companies. And my first question is, well, how do you want me to coach here? Mm-hmm. And then I just get this weird look. Like, what are you talking about? Like, maybe even a look of panic. Like, wait a minute, you said you were a business coach. What do you mean, how do I do this? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, how do I do it here? I kind of joke sometimes when I'm talking to people, because, like, you want me to make sure that I'm kind of nice. Like, I am, but I've got another client that's like, just sock them in the gut. Like, just hold their feet to the fire. Like, and so, but it's the culture, right? The culture that we have here and what we do. And it's not like, I'm not being fake. I liken it to, we all know not to say the F word around our parents, but we say it around our friends. So, it's just having that little filter, or, whatever, on how you want to be. So when I'm running my business, like, I want everyone to be super clear about how my culture is. And so that is part of the training and the execution. So even though I'm hiring, like, a contractor to do my social media, they need to know who my audience is and how I speak to them, so that they can mimic that. Ghostwriters do that a lot with writing books. I know a New York Times bestselling author, several books, didn't write one themselves. Someone else wrote that, but they were really good at getting the voice of the author and made them look really good. And you read those books, you're like, that sounds just like them. But the truth is they didn't write that book. They spoke it, and the ghostwriter made them look really good. So those things are available to you all the time, because it's just about making sure the thing gets done. Mm-hmm. So who do I have to hire to do that? I know business finance really well. I have no idea how to use QuickBooks. I mean, if you gave me a login, I could figure it out, but I know how to read a P&L. So that, as a business owner, my highest and best use is not entering my lunch receipt in from my business meeting yesterday.
Right.
It's leading that and making sure that I'm out ahead of the business.
Right. Got it. All right. Last part, we're going to talk about really scaling next levels. So thinking about, like, what's your best advice? We're kind of going to break it apart, but I think it's different, right? For someone who's scaling from, first, I think and you probably agree, the hardest is to go from 0 to 100, and then 100K. And then there's 100K to 250 where people kind of get stuck. And then 250 to 500. And then there's 500 to $1 million people really want. And then there's $1 million and beyond, because by then your company is very different. So that's a wide question, but how do you want to, what's your best advice for people who are at the different levels, and why does it matter?
Yeah. When you're a beginning business, I think time management has a lot to do with how you spend your time and what you're doing in the business. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we tend to, like, spend all of our time on one activity. Like, I don't have any money, so I'm going to go market like crazy. And then you get a bunch of clients and you don't have any time to market because you're doing fulfilling. So I think it kind of changes when it's really about taking that extra time to just pick one piece of your business. Like maybe it's like your social media. Like, you have to have a digital footprint, you need to be out there, like sending messages and putting digital content out there, but there's like, maybe a system you have is one time a month, you put all your content together for the month, and then you use a system like Meet Edgar or Social Bee or Hootsuite or something like that to deploy it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So even saying this is a system of how we do social marketing here. And the thing is if you know how it's done, how easy is it at that point to hand it off to somebody else?
Right.
Really easy. So practice just doing little things like that. Another area is customer fulfillment. Like whatever you do to fulfill the thing you do, write that process out. And I always look at processes and say, okay, is that a $10 an hour job or a $100 an hour job?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I can't really pass off coaching to somebody else at this point in my business, but I can pass off communicating with the person, sending them the necessary documents or templates, sending them notes, scheduling them, giving them a reminder call. Like I can hire all that out if there's a good system. So, the good news is you can totally run your business with systems. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of systems. The maybe not so good news is there's lots and lots and lots and lots of systems.
Yeah.
But like that's what helps you grow. So as you get to be a bigger company, we're going to put different systems in place that help support like a bigger foundation. So that might be systems for managing people, systems for, like you'll get systems. I have a client that they do an event. We'll even think about the events that we do. How many people put their hands in that event? 7,
Mm-hmm.
7 to 8. So how do you create a system where all the checks and balances happen? So, standard operating procedure or using technology that does project management or customer management so we know where the baton handoff is. Mm-hmm. So as you get to be bigger and you need to bring more people on, that's going to put extra systems of managing people and customers.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to manage 10 customers a year. It's a completely different thing to manage 1,000 customers a year. And scaling and putting systems in place is what makes that possible. So it really is a matter of like systematizing yourself when you're a small business versus like systematizing other people or roles or departments or functions when you have a bigger business with more people and more moving parts, right? Like if I have a lemonade stand, I can come up with a system on doing lemonade. But if I start adding different kinds of lemonade, frozen lemonade, hot dogs on the side, candy, soda, and I start increasing my days of operation instead of just weekends, those systems are going to build upon each other in a lot of different ways. But you don't have to look at your whole business right now and be like, great, I'm not a system at all. It's not worth it. Whatever. Just start by, if there's one thing, because systems equal saved time.
Let's talk about that.
Equal one to many.
Let's talk about which systems or which system can give the best return on investment for someone who's just getting started because they probably don't have a system yet.
You know what? It's your time. A system for your time management. Oh my gosh. Like I think we were just on another training and you were talking about sometimes most of us get up and the first thing we do is look at social media and the next thing you know, an hour and a half's gone.
Right.
I do a cool time management training and it talks about, I start out with 720 hours a month and I just start breaking it down. Mm-hmm. But like people think they don't have enough time, and I guarantee you, if you actually blocked out your time doing the right things at the right time and actually had a team, when I did this, I literally had 32 hours a week. I was like, I don't know what to do. And that's after factoring in maybe Candy Crush or playing games or just like binge watching TV. I was covering my business. That was covering my relationships. That was covering going to the gym, that was covering meditation, that was covering reading.
And you still had 32 hours?
And then 8 hours of sleep. That was the very first thing I chose because I want to sleep. So I took a bunch of time off. But like when we don't manage our time, we're not efficient and things get away from us. There's a great book out there called The Happiness Equation.
Yeah.
And it's super easy read, like literally you could read it in a couple days. But one of the things that I loved about that book is he said, as humans, we will take all the time that we give ourselves to get something done. So if you wake up in the morning and you're like, I got to get these 5 things done today, it will take all day because anything else that comes in, you'll accept because you're like, well, I mean, it's only lunchtime. I still have 3 hours to get those 2 things done. If you wake up and say, I got to get these 5 things done by 10 a.m., you'll get them done by 10 a.m. Even I love how you say, it's amazing what we can get done the night before we have to go on vacation.
Right? Yeah.
So, you know, when you get very locked and determined, like that's a good thing. For humans, it's so crazy, but we operate really good under constraint.
So
And as entrepreneurs, that's the one thing we're trying to get away from, right?
yeah.
We want to get away from our job or a boss or someone telling us what to do. We want to live life on our own terms, or the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And so our greatest strength becomes our greatest weakness because we're not willing to do that for ourselves or for the people that we hire.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't really believe in the hashtag hustle, hashtag grind. Like, I don't believe in that. I believe if you really systematize and plan out and put, you know, systems and processes and goals or like metrics to your business, you can see how to grow it. Sometimes people think they just have to work so hard to grow their business, and it's not hard work. And it's not intelligence. Sorry if you're a multimillionaire out there right now and you have like, you know, a 97 IQ, like good for you. Some people get mad that, you know, I say a lot of millionaires aren't smart. Like intelligent wise, they're not, but they're willing to be courageous. They're willing to do whatever it takes. They're willing to ask for help.
Oh,
And they are totally fine not doing all the work. They don't value what they're doing as valuable. They value how much they can get moving or who they can get on board. Men are so good at this. Men are so good at asking for help.
Yeah. Someone once said that when a man starts a business, he hires his team. And when a woman starts a business, she is the team. And that's not all the time. And we're totally generalizing. So don't email us and get mad.
Yeah.
In general terms, most of the women that we work with, you know, haven't hired, or they have a virtual assistant doing a tiny amount, but not enough for them to scale and get to that next level. It's why, I think it's one of, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why only 3% of women business owners make it over the $1 million mark, make it over 7
Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking. So shout out to women and all the, you know, women business owners out there, that scaling is one of those things that can help you get to the next level. And to all the guys that they're listening, thank you. And you do this very well, and we're watching you. So.
Men, I mean, it's just, you know, we're just kind of buried under years of culture. And of course there's exceptions. And I think we're definitely moving into a difference, but like, we don't need to beat ourselves up about it. You know, we came from a culture where men had to go out and make sure there was food on the table, and women did everything else.
Right.
And as women became more liberated and started entering the workforce, they carried that same thing in there, and men carried their same thing. I've been in corporate America. I've been in male-dominated industries, and I'll tell you what, to watch men help each other out is amazing. And yet women don't. Women love to like kind of hang around and hold each other back with their stories, or why they can't be big, or why they can't spend money on their business because that's family money. And, you know, we kind of, you know, all these are layers of scaling. Most men will invest whatever it takes to get to the finish line. They're very clear about what their purpose is, to bring money in and put food on the table. And, you know, and they love to have fun, right? Whereas women are like, well, I should do the dishes. Like, getting a woman to hire a house cleaner sometimes is the hardest thing I can do, because she finds value in running her own home. There's nothing wrong with that. However, there's nothing wrong with hiring it out and spending more time with your kids, or taking a self-care day, or working on your business.
Right.
You know, I know you rely on a lot of family help and home help for Luca to run your business, and you still have an enormous amount of quality time with him. So sometimes we just have to think about how we want to do something, or give ourselves permission to actually live what we want to live, and hire and spend what we want to spend. You hear me say it, money is just a tool.
Right.
And the second that money is emotional, you lose. Right. So if it's emotional about making it, spending it, asking other people for it. We just did a sales camp, and you know, one of the things that somebody said there was, I don't know if I should be charging this much, because I don't even have enough money to pay for what I'm offering. And I'm like, wow.
Right.
You know, that's a huge limiting belief. And I always kind of nail people with, you don't know what other people value, so why do you decide their destiny?
Right. You said that to her, and she said, whoa. And then
Yeah.
she was like, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm taking it to the next level. So
Yeah. So part of scaling, the very first thing you have to do is to decide.
right.
You got to decide and be willing. And the next thing is just start small. You know, what are one or two things? Maybe it's managing your time. Maybe it's managing social media. Like what, just think about when I talked about teaching someone to walk and break it down to the steps. There might be 200 steps to doing a simple thing. That's okay.
Yeah.
The more you can break it down, the easier it is to train, hold people accountable, and to actually like lead people. And then you don't have to be the bad guy with this like weird expectation of, I thought you said this and I really meant this. And then it's like, you're hard to work for. And it's like, you're lazy. And now we have a whole big story. See, I should have just
There's a story.
myself. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been so much fun. We're going to have to do it again. I have so many things I want to talk with you about this year. So for our listeners, Rebekah will definitely be back. I know she's a fan favorite. So email us at contact@salescoachnow and let us know what you thought, other topics you'd like us to talk more about. And then also remember to go to salescoachnow.com/gift to get your PDF on how to double your sales. We'd love to see you out at the next sales camp. You can email us at contact@salescoachnow.com and we'll tell you exactly how you can get your special price to come to sales camp. 2 days. We offer 10. Yeah, I know. 10 public sales camps a year, 2 in San Diego where it's really warm and nice, and I get to go there this week, and then 8 in Minnesota, some in the winter. But I'll tell you what, the airfare to Minnesota in the wintertime is very inexpensive. So it's really easy to get here. All right, Rebekah, thanks again for being here. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Part of our community. To our listeners all over the world, we're grateful for you. Email us, keep in touch, and make this your most epic month yet. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't yet. And if you want to check out more videos, tap the screen right here.